Jackée Harry entered the history of American television with a smile as sharp as a blade and a voice impossible to mistake. But the road that led her to the spotlight was never an easy story to tell. Before becoming the first black woman to win an Emmy for a sitcom, Jackée was already familiar with rejection, suspicion, and being pushed to the margins simply because she was too different, too full of personality, too loud, too unwilling to shrink herself to fit Hollywood's mold. Her talent did not come from elite schools or privileged opportunities. It was sharpened through years of instability where every role carried the fear of being replaced and every audition was a gamble with her own dignity. Jackée was told outright that black women had no place in primetime sitcoms and that audiences would not accept a woman who was both intelligent and capable of overpowering men. She listened, stayed silent, and then did the opposite. Behind the explosive humor audiences saw on screen was a woman who had tasted loneliness, emotional wounds, and losses that could never be fully put into words. Success arrived late, but the price was demanded early. Broken relationships, long stretches of quiet after the laughter faded, and the constant feeling of having to fight just to preserve the right to exist. Jackée Harry did not merely make people laugh. She forced American television to face how it defines women, power, and voice. So, how much did she have to endure to stand where she did? Beneath the sharp, explosive exterior the public would later come to know, Jackée Harry's childhood was a long lesson in learning how to stand on her own when nothing guaranteed she would be allowed to stay. Jacqueline Yvonne Harry was born on August 14, 1956 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The daughter of Flossie Harry, a woman of Trinidadian descent who carried a fierce Caribbean spirit, and Warren Harry. She was the youngest of 5 children, a position that offered both protection and vulnerability. The last child often noticed late and forgotten early. When the family moved to Harlem, New York, Jackée entered an entirely different world. Loud, direct, and unforgiving of timidity. Harlem did not teach people how to dream. It taught them how to survive, to speak loudly, move quickly, and never apologize for taking up space. Family instability forced Jackée to understand early that uncertainty was not an exception, but a permanent condition. She grew up in the middle of constant change where attention became a rare form of currency. Her talkativeness and expressive nature were not born from a desire to entertain, but from a need to be seen. Silence meant erasure, and Jackée refused to accept that. Her love of performance came out almost as an instinct. At 14, when she played the role of the King in The King and I at the Harriet Beecher Stowe School Drama Club, she did more than step onto the stage. She claimed it. A black girl playing the King already showed that Jackée would not be confined by prescribed roles or social expectations. She later attended New York's High School of Music and Art, where the strict discipline of vocal training and opera taught her control over voice, breath, and presence, skills that would later become her quiet weapons in comedy. Her academic path continued at Long Island University, Brooklyn, where she graduated in 1975 with a Bachelor of Arts in Education. This choice was not a rejection of art, but a search for stability in a world that offered few guarantees to someone like her. 2 years teaching U.S. history to 9th and 10th grade boys at Brooklyn Technical High School sharpened her ability to command space, enforce discipline, and engage with strong personalities. Another kind of stage, harsher and more real. By day, Jackée lectured on America's past struggles. By night, she stepped onto small stages where her passion for performance quietly burned. That double life continued until she realized that stability was only delaying the inevitable. Acting was not a random option, but something embedded in the way she existed. And when teaching no longer filled the emptiness inside, Jackée was forced to turn toward the path she had been avoiding, a path that promised no safety, but allowed her finally to be herself. Jackée stepped away from the classroom, and her first professional role, a nurse in Going Through Changes at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn in 1977, opened the path she had postponed for far too long. There were no bright lights, no applause, only a small stage, an audience seated close to the front row, and a new actress entering a world where success was never waiting in advance. In the years that followed, Jackée lived between auditions, brief supporting roles, and touring stage productions. She appeared in off-Broadway plays, then gradually made her way onto Broadway in the late 1970s. Her Broadway debut came with the role of Melinda Barnard in the musical A Broadway Musical, a major opportunity and also her first collision with the harsh reality of the profession. And the show was so poorly received by critics that it closed almost immediately. For a newcomer, this was more than a failed production. It was the experience of standing in the heart of the theater world and realizing that no one had promised you a place there. Jackée did not return to the classroom. She stayed. She continued working in Broadway productions such as The Wiz, Eubie, and One Mo' Time. None of these roles brought fame, but they delivered something more essential: endurance. The stage became her real school. There, Jackée learned how to control comedic rhythm, how to command attention with a single glance, how to remain steady when a night's performance passed without anyone remembering her name. Then television cracked its door open. In 1983, Jackée appeared in the daytime series Another World, stepping for the first time into the world of long-form television and performing alongside names such as Morgan Freeman. After years of facing live audiences, she now had to relearn everything in front of the camera. A lens does not laugh like a theater crowd. It only records every small mistake. There was no applause to signal that she had done something right. This was not yet the defining moment, but it was unmistakable proof. The woman who once taught by day and performed by night had decided never to return to the safe path again. And from this point forward, her road began to turn in a direction that all of America would soon recognize. After many years standing at the edge of the stage, the opportunity Jackée Harry had been waiting for finally arrived, not through a grand dramatic role, but through laughter. In 1985, she joined NBC's sitcom 227, a series adapted from a stage play about the lives of black women in an apartment building, now relocated to a mostly African-American neighborhood in Washington, D.C. At the center was the Jenkins family, led by Mary Jenkins, played by Marla Gibbs, a sharp-tongued, observant housewife who sat on her stoop watching the entire block. And right beside her, more vivid than anyone else, was Jackée's Sandra Clark. Sandra did not enter the story as the lead. She was the younger neighbor, fashionable, flamboyant, fast-talking, living large, and always walking into a room as if every gaze already belonged to her. Mary represented stability, family, and familiar structure. Sandra was movement, desire, freedom without permission. The contrast between these two women became the show's comedic center, the verbal sparring on the stoop, the knowing looks, the punchlines that landed before the situation had time to fully unfold. At first, Sandra was written as a supporting role meant to add color, but Jackée turned a small part into the center of gravity. Every time she appeared, the rhythm of the show shifted. Audiences reacted before she finished her lines. Not because the script favored her, but because the energy she brought to the frame could not be ignored. Sandra Clark gradually became the character viewers waited for each episode, to the point that NBC even experimented with a standalone episode centered on her. A rare move for a sitcom supporting character at the time. In a series focused on middle-class family life, Sandra offered an image of a black woman living on her own terms, bold, glamorous, sometimes superficial, but always unapologetically present. The success of the role extended far beyond studio laughter. In 1987, Jackée Harry won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, a historic milestone for American television and for her personally. From a stage actress who once watched her Broadway debut close almost immediately, she now stood at the podium of national television recognition. Sandra Clark did not just bring her into millions of homes. Sandra Clark lifted Jackée to the top. Yet standing there, she did not want to be confined by laughter. While 227 was still beloved, Jackée left her comfort zone to seek new challenges. Because for her, Sandra was a door opening a path, not the end of the journey. And behind the bright, happy lights of sitcom fame, her path was never as light as the laughter suggested. And the roles that followed demanded emotional and physical intensity so great that she would later pay for them with her own health. But that cost revealed something essential. The success of 227 was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one in which Jackée Harry was no longer just the woman who makes people laugh, but an actress willing to step into the harder terrain of the craft. After 227, she continued to assert her place through a very different role, Lisa Landry in Sister 1994. No longer the flamboyant neighbor, Lisa was a warm, humorous, deeply caring adoptive mother. This role introduced Jackée to a new generation of viewers, younger but enduringly loyal. If Sandra Clark was explosive laughter, Lisa Landry was laughter with a heart. Few people know that when she accepted the role of Lisa, Jackée had never truly considered sitcoms to be the path she wanted. She once dreamed of major dramatic roles, believed she was meant for serious theater rather than weekly television comedy. After the success of 227, she even feared that laughter would trap her forever. But Sister taught her something else. Sometimes the value of a role lies not in one's original ambition, but in the impact it leaves behind. Years later, looking back, she realized she had helped shape the image of a positive, ordinary black family, unburdened by constant tragedy or stereotypes, something still rare on television at the time. What defines Jackie's journey is not the number of roles she played, but what she carried with her from the stage: precise comedic timing and energy impossible to overlook, and the ability to command the frame even when she was not at the center. She was not discovered. She stepped into the frame and forced the audience to look. There were moments when she felt embarrassed watching herself perform too much in earlier years. Moments when she felt boxed in by laughter. Yet that honesty shows how relentlessly she continued to examine herself and move forward. From this point on, Jackée Harry was no longer an actress searching for her place. She became part of America's television memory. Not only because of laughter, but because her characters lived alongside multiple generations night after night in front of the screen. Still, being at the peak of sitcom success was not the endpoint of Jackée Harry's journey. It was the moment she was forced to decide what kind of artist she would become after the laughter faded. After 2:27 and Sister, when audiences had come to see her as a comedy icon, Jackée did not disappear like many television faces of her era. She shifted. Rather than repeating familiar images, she moved into another space within the industry. Daytime dramas, where laughter was no longer the foundation. Her role as Paulina Price on Days of Our Lives placed her in a world of extended emotion, family conflict, and dialogue without a laugh track to guide the audience. There she could not rely on comedic energy to dominate the frame. She had to hold viewers through a heavier, more grounded presence. At the same time, Jackée returned to the stage where she had begun long before television called her name. Did dramatic roles such as her portrayal of Billie Holiday in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill reaffirmed that her dream of being a serious dramatic actress had never disappeared. If sitcoms once made her fear being typecast, the stage became the place where she proved she did not exist solely through laughter. There is a quiet contradiction in this journey. The woman who never wanted to do sitcoms lasted longest on television precisely because of them. But instead of allowing that fact to confine her, Jackée let time reveal different versions of herself. From the explosive neighbor to the warm mother to a mature woman carrying emotional depth, and her journey raises a lingering question. Is what truly matters not where you begin, but whether you dare to keep changing while still holding on to who you are? Stage lights may preserve a youthful face on screen, but they cannot simplify a private life. Once laughter secured Jackée Harry's place on television, life behind the camera shifted into an entirely different rhythm. Quieter and far more collision-filled. Jackée went through 2 marriages that did not reach a lasting destination. There were no tabloid spectacles, no public scandals, but enough for her to understand that success in the public eye does not automatically translate into peace at home. Her first marriage took place in the early 1980s when her acting career was still in its developing stage. She married Elgin Charles Williams, a respected composer, band leader, and arranger in the music world. They came together at a moment when both were uncertain, driven by passion and searching for their place in creative fields. Jackée on stage and in small acting roles, Elgin through instruments, arrangements, and production. But life does not always move to the harmonious rhythm of art. During their years together, little about their private life became public. No scandals, no noise, just 2 people trying to balance individual ambitions with a shared daily life. As Jackée gradually moved closer to the television spotlight, opportunity and pressure arrived side by side, and that balance began to break down. By the mid-1980s, when roles and career decisions pulled her more forcefully toward visibility, the marriage ended around 1984. Though brief and rarely discussed, this first relationship marked an important turning point in Jackée Harry's life. It was the first time she faced the difficult choice between a rising career and personal intimacy, a dilemma familiar to many young artists and her earliest lesson in the cost of pursuing the spotlight. The marriage did not end in drama or bitterness, but it left her with a lasting realization. A radiant career can demand deep sacrifices, and sometimes those sacrifices come from what lies closest to the heart. Her second marriage did not begin quietly. In 1996, Jackée married Elgin Charles Williams, a renowned Beverly Hills hairstylist, later called by the media as the Hair King. The wedding took place at the Beverly Hills Hotel, surrounded by lights, famous friends, and the feeling of a complete new beginning. 2 people from different creative worlds, television and beauty, met at a shared intersection of ambition, strong personalities, and constant public exposure. A year later, they adopted an 8-month-old baby boy named Frank. The decision was not impulsive. Jackée later acknowledged that she knew she wanted to be a mother even as her career continued to consume most of her time and energy. Motherhood did not replace the stage lights, but it created a new center in her life, one where she was no longer Sandra or Lisa, but someone responsible for another human being. Frank grew up in a home shaped by both creativity and discipline, later pursuing professional boxing, and has often said he is proud to have a mother who is joyful yet unyielding. The marriage lasted 7 years before ending in divorce in 2003. The romantic partnership ended, but the bond did not dissolve in the usual way. Elgin later described it as a different kind of love, no longer passion, but care rooted in wanting the other person to be stable, protected, and respected. They learned to stand on the same side as parents, stayed in contact, appeared at important moments in each other's lives, and even embraced in birthday photos years after their separation. The relationship transformed rather than disappeared. Alongside this, Elgin underwent a personal journey of his own when he publicly came out as bisexual in his late 40s through a memoir released in 2018. The decision followed years of fear of disappointing his father, of living in environments where masculinity was rigidly policed. His coming out was not only his story, it reflected a form of delayed maturation that many in the entertainment world face, when authentic identity can surface only after layers of social roles have been stripped away. There is no melodramatic climax in this marital story. There is rupture, redefinition. A child placed firmly at the center and 2 adults who chose to preserve the humane core of their relationship after romance had ended. Fame did not protect the marriage, but the way they separated revealed a rare kind of maturity under the spotlight. The relationships that passed through Jackée Harry's life did not end with marriage. After quiet breakups, she entered another phase of her emotional life, more discreet, yet no less attention-grabbing. And then many years after the glow of sitcom fame had settled into television history, an unexpected revelation from Jackée herself opened a chapter that left the public stunned. In an appearance on a podcast hosted by Nick Cannon alongside comedian Kim Whitley, Jackée Harry shared that she had once been in a private romantic